If we zoom in the map of Saudi Arabia, we can see these green circles in the middle of the desert. It seems that something interesting is going to happen in this desert and barren desert. The Gobi Desert is the world's fastest growing desert. This desert, which has spread from China to Mongolia, is leaving a barren land behind every year by leaving 6,000 square kilometers of greenland. This is the reason that only a few thousand people live in such a large land area. It is not just the Gobi Desert that is spreading rapidly. All the deserts in the world are still alive. And the biggest reason for this is climate change and global warming. To some extent, we humans are responsible for this. Cutting trees for their purpose and destroying the environment with heavy industries is a disaster created by humans called desertification. Experts believe that desertification is spreading so rapidly that by 2050, 25% of the Earth's land will be desert. And by the year 2100, 50% of the Earth's land will be converted into barren land. But the situation is not that scary. The way Saudi Arabia has handled this situation, there is really no answer to it. Before 1938, Saudi Arabia and all Arab countries were not so well off. But after that, when oil came out of here and the demand for oil increased globally, but there was an increase in their bank balances. For many years, there was a trend of living on this money. There were big states, extra luxury lifestyle, and there was no time to count the amount of money. All this was the result of the money gained from oil, and the oil was also so much that it was not even taking the name of ending. Saudi Arabia has so many oil reserves that if it does not export to the world, but it is the oil that Saudi Arabia is standing at this point by exporting and selling. Oil export is Saudi Arabia's compulsion, and this was understood by Saudi Arabia's leaders even after a long time. For many years, Saudi Arabia did not feel a lack of anything. They have so much buying power that they easily imported all the necessary things, like food, fruits, vegetables, and water. Yes, Saudi Arabia has a lot of oil, but no drinking water. For many years, drinking water has been imported from France, Italy, Kuwait, and the United Kingdom. The biggest reason for this is nothing but desertification. Moreover, it is counted among the countries in the world where the least rain falls. In Saudi Arabia, the annual rainfall is 3 times. And it is only 4 inches, and that too on the western mountains where the water flows directly into the Red Sea and gets wasted. In order to get rid of the dependency of oil and imported food, Saudi Arabia decided in the 1970s that they would do anything to improve their agricultural sector, so that the country has at least enough resources to meet its own requirements. But if we look at the map, then in Saudi Arabia, millions of acres of barren desert are gradually being converted into green circles. These circles are nothing but agricultural land that is given water through center pivot irrigation. In this, farms are given only as much water as is required through specially designed sprinklers. A very large pipe in the middle is run on its fixed path with the help of wheels. Due to this, the shape of these farms is circular. The farmland made in Wadi al-Dawasa is spread over a total of 5,000 square kilometers, which is increasing every passing year. The small thousands of green dots that we see in it are as big as 1 kilometer diameter farms. That is, it is as big as 100 acres. Normal irrigation system, which is also called flood irrigation. Most of the water in it absorbs the soil and becomes quite evaporated. But because only as much water is given in center pivot irrigation as is required by the crop. This is the reason that 90% of the water is saved in it. This is not the only place where Saudi is making such farmlands. There are dozens of such areas in Saudi Arabia where thousands of square kilometers of farms can be seen, in which Tabuk province is also included where Lion City is being built. But the question is that where does Saudi get so much water to make these farms? Whereas there are no permanent rivers here and there are not so many rains here. In the 1970s, Saudi Arabia also started to find water below the desert after Libya. They did not get so much, but got 480 cubic kilometers of water. In the 1970s to the present day, all the farming that has been done in Saudi Arabia, 21 cubic kilometers of water has been extracted from these underground wells. These are not just underground aquifers on which Saudi Arabia is dependent. The biggest country to make water through desalination is Saudi Arabia, but obviously, all this is not going to work like this. A lot of energy is needed for desalination, which is currently being produced by fuel and nuclear energy. And the water of the underground aquifer is limited. which will be finished in 50 years. For the solution of this problem, a new experiment is going on the west coast of Saudi Arabia. There is annual rain in these mountains, but this water flows into the Red Sea. A new experiment is being done here called Al-Baida Project. A system has been created that is changing the mountains from brown to green, and that too through flash floods. Recently, a viral clip on social media showed that the rainwater is flowing from the Red Sea into the river. These flash floods come to Saudi Arabia once in 3 years. The team of Al-Baida Project, together with a few experts, proposed the idea of trapping this water in the mountains. The water of the mountains was stopped by making terraces and dams, and vegetation was started on those mountains. The water that used to fall down from the mountains and go into the sea. Because of making terraces, its speed now slows down, and the vegetation on the terraces absorbs it. This is making the mountains green instead of losing thousands of cubic meters of water, as you can see here. Along with this, to make the desert green and to rain more. Saudi Arabia is making solar and wind energy at the mass level, and they are also making wind farms. But solar farms make electricity through the sun. What does it have to do with rain? Experts believe that by making solar farms in the desert, electricity is made, but the rays of the sun reflect from the solar panels and heat the atmosphere. The water vapors present in the atmosphere go up due to heat and collide with the cold air, which increases the chance of rain. This is why wind turbines also throw the air upwards. This way, not too much, but annually it will rain more than 5 centimeters. The areas that are completely barren, at least wild bushes will be created there, which can stop desertification. There is no doubt in this that Saudi Arabia has succeeded in fighting difficult situations and making thousands, not millions, of green farms, and these numbers are increasing every year. In 1960, where Saudi Arabia had only 11,400 sq.km of fertile land. After 50 years of hard work, only farms have been made in this 35,000 sq.km area. This area is as big as Taiwan or Belgium. Today, Saudi Arabia has become so self-sufficient that it is exporting commodities in the international market, in which corn, soya beans, tree nuts, wheat and rice are included. To control desertification, Saudi Arabia has also planted 120 million new trees in 2022. Keeping in mind its Lion City project, Saudi experts estimate that by 2030, these trees will be able to convert 225,000 hectares of land in Greenland.